So let's get going. So my name is Yelena, and I'm Boston-based American entrepreneur and expert in education field. Today we'll talk about US education, and the reason why I wanted to run this session is because attending MIT was a career changer in my life, and it's in general was a complete game changer in my life. I hope that my experience and my advices that I share today will help you to take one more step closer to realizing your academic dreams and realizing your professional success. So let's get going. Let's move to another slide and let's see what we have, what are we going to discuss today. So why to pursue US education? As many of you know, it's very expensive and it's also very challenging to get into top universities. We also will talk about how diverse American educational landscape is, because you will be surprised it's very different from the rest of the world, how diverse it is and how the whole higher education system runs in the United States. We'll also talk about your fit. By fit, I mean finding a university that help you to become the best version of yourself. So not just pursuing a brand name, but finding a place where you flourish. We will discuss in details and overview what comes into the package, application package, and the timeline of the process. Of course, how you can finance your education, what are the options, and we'll finish with how to make your case compelling, because as I'm sure, as I said before, American education is very competitive, and top universities right now run at a 3% acceptance rate. So let's deep dive in some details. Next slide, please. So why US education? Well, I'm a big fan of US education. I think it's, though it's prohibitively expensive, it has some unique features that make it the best education in terms of higher education, the best education in the world. And what do I mean by this? Well, first of all, unlike most of education outside of the United States, while you study at the university here, you'll get you will become not only an expert in one niche area, but also you will develop the skills that help you outside of your classroom, and you will develop your soft skills. You will also develop very practical skills, like, for example, like resume writing, right? At how many places in the world at the university you know how to write your resume, how to train for an interview. While you study in the United States, that's kind of an experience you get during your first year. Campus experience, that's also very important, because you will live basically adult life from your first year. And campus experience, it's an opportunity to build a network of friends. Some of you will also meet a lot of people who will help you in your professional life 10 years from now. For example, in my case, at MIT, we had over 30% of international students. And right now, when I travel around the world for work, almost in every single major city, I can find an MIT alum with whom I can either go for a dinner, lunch, or can get some help with my professional ideas. But what I think makes it even more interesting, it's a flexibility of specialization. And by this, I mean, unlike majority of education outside of United States, US education is extremely flexible. So can we just move to another slide? So here's what we mean by flexibility of specialization. Usually when you go to university in Europe or Asia or Latin America, you will concentrate on your specialty. It could be physics, it could be history, it could be literature. And that's what most of your time, that's where you spend most of your time. When you will be in the United States, you have tons of options. You can go for traditional major, the one I have just described. You can go for self-designed major. By self-designed major, I mean, like, for example, international studies, right? You will study political science and you will also study languages at the same time. You can go for double major. Me personally, when I studied, I did economics and art history simultaneously. It sounds a little bit strange and unusual, but that's quite common. Then people do a double major. Some people do it in math and finance, some in literature and history, but very few people just pursue only one major. We can skip, we can have a whole session just talking about flexibility of specialization, but let's keep moving because we have a lot to cover. So I know it's a scary slide, scary in the sense it looks very overwhelming, right? That's how American educational landscape look like. So there are a few things I want you to learn from this slide. First of all, there are no single university in the United States that is run under US government, not a single university. Another thing I want you to take out of this slide is that actually there are a lot of options outside of brand names like Harvard, Cornell, MIT, and Princeton. And lastly, but very importantly, there are no single rules. So just think about each university as its own country with its own rule. This is actually a really important point, and you will see that I will repeat it and repeat it a few times throughout the application. Don't assume that the rules of one university will automatically apply to other. But let me give you some more details about what kind of educational institutions we have here. Well, we have what is called public, and by public we don't mean government, federal government run, we mean state run. For example, I live in state of Massachusetts, and we have University of Massachusetts, which has 3 campuses in Boston, Lowell, and Amherst. And there is one what is called flagship campus. It's usually a main campus where the library is located, the majority of sports is located, where you would have the best professors, and then you have branches. So in our case, it's Boston branch, apparently, flagship branch, and then we have a branch, flagship office, and then we have a branch in Lowell, and then branch in Amherst. Another things I want to point out on this slide, we have some what is called Institute of Technology or Polytechnic Institute. I don't want you to think that if you go to Institute of Technology, you can avoid arts and humanities. No, that's not the case. That's not how it works in American education. They want you to be well-rounded person. So even if you are studied Institute of Technology, you'll still is required to take some courses on history, on writing, on public speaking. For example, I have a student who is Hermione student. He's a computer science major. He's Olympiads winner. And when I asked him what was his first favorite course at MIT, he said it was public speaking. I said, why? Because he said, I always was so challenged to speak publicly, but now I can do it really well. So it's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing about American education. It's not narrow focus, but keep in mind, and the higher you aim, like the more humanities courses you will get. So at a regular Polytechnic Institute, it's going to be less work on humanities than, let's say, at MIT, where people are required to take creative writing. And then I want to move to SLAC, which is not the system, but SLAC is a small liberal arts colleges. And here I want to emphasize that in college, in the United States, colleges are not less valuable or not less prestigious than universities. Colleges are actually, the only difference between university and college is that college doesn't have a medical school and it doesn't have a law school. That's it. But colleges could be as prestigious as universities, and I'll give you some examples. So speaking of small liberal arts colleges, it's not a well-known term outside of United States, but we have some amazing schools here, like, for example, Amherst College, which has as competitive as Harvard. And small liberal art colleges, what they different from a regular university, they don't offer PhD programs. But the beauty of it is that faculty is actually very focused on undergraduate education. So you have an access to world top professors, and their focus is you, not research, as it has happened at majority of universities, including Harvard and MIT. Now, before we drown in this variety, so let's talk about how you can pick which university to attend. And let's move to the next slide. So, finding your fit. When you have so many options, many people tend to go for brand name or ranking, which could be really misleading. What I strongly recommend you to do is to take into account the following things that we listed here. For example, if you go to MIT, you don't want to study and focus on, let's say, literature or music, right? Apparently, the school, it's not where the school is strongest at. So look if your major is available, and then don't look at the general ranking, look at the ranking of your rating at this specific university. Cost and financing, well, I want to bring to your attention that actually a really mediocre university in the United States would cost as much as Harvard. For example, for private universities, it runs around 72K on average a year, whether it's number 1 in the country or it's number 72 in the country. Public schools are run at a lower rate. It's usually around 42K. It's still very expensive, but the main point you should take away from this is that if it's a very, the price doesn't reflect the quality. That's what I was trying to drive at. And in terms of financing, I'll just spend time separately getting into how you can finance your education. Culture and values. This is really important because different universities have different cultures. For example, I don't see myself I don't see myself at Harvard. It's a really wonderful school and it's an amazing place. But the culture, I have a different, the culture of it is not what I would feel best at. It's really focused on individualistic qualities. It's very focused on leadership. And if you're that type of person, wonderful, that would be a great place for you. I prefer teamwork. I really prefer creativity. I prefer a lot of freedom. I like to walk in my sneakers out on campus. So I'm an MIT girl. So it's very, very different. Educational priorities and goals. That's also very important. Are you planning to go straight to work after you graduate? Or are you going to pursue your PhD degree? Because if you're going to pursue your PhD degree, then SLAC is a really great option. Location, well, many of you might laugh and say, like, that's crazy. I don't care about location, but actually it's really important. Like if you promote, there are a lot of options. You can be at a big city as New York, or you can be 3 hours away from the city, and and you can have a really great school like Middlebury College. It's a SLAC, Amherst College. They both are Middlebury about 3 hours away from Boston. Amherst is about 2 hours away from Boston. They're both great, but different location. I had a student who dreamt about attending Brown for a really long time. Then he went to Brown for the summer, and he told me, okay, I definitely want to apply to Brown. Yes, it's a really wonderful university. Faculty is amazing, students are great, but it's in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to be there. So this is all very, very important. Now, let's move, now when we decided hopefully those criteria will help you to narrow down your list. And by the list, I mean, when you're applying to American universities, it should be at least 7 to 10 universities on your list. So let's look into what is actually going into admission package. Let's go to the next slide. This is another difference about American education. It's not just about tests, or it's not about it's not about wonderful grades, right? Application package basically consists of academic part, those are tests and your grades at school. It consists of essays. This is really important. You have one main, let's call it main essay. Doesn't mean it's count more towards anything. It's just the main essay that goes to all the schools. And then you have a university specific essays where each school asks questions that are important for this specific school. By the way, when I say school in United States, school, college, and university means exactly the same thing. Then recommendation letters. So admission committee wants to learn more about you, and they can do it by reading your essays, where you talk about your values, what you've done with your life. And they can also do it for recommendation letters, hearing about other people talking about you. Activities and accomplishments. This is a section, I mean, when you apply, you fill out a common app or coalition app, depending if you apply on East Coast or West Coast. But you have a section where you need to list all the activities you've done outside of the school, and hopefully you've done some. So this is another part of application package. And finally, interviews, which became less important since COVID time, but you can be interviewed after the admission committee reviews the application. They can invite you or not invite you for an interview. By the way, one invitation to an interview or no invitation for an interview should not be taken as a signal whether you're doing better or worse. Each school evaluates each candidate on its specific case. There are no single rule once again. So I want to talk a little bit about tests right now, and with that move to another slide, to the next slide. So tests, there are, and the reason why I want to talk about tests, because there is a lot of controversy since COVID time. Tests were always required before COVID. Right now, majority of university, with a few exceptions, like MIT said, you're not required to take tests. So how to decide? Well, here is our recommendation. As you can see here, there are basically two groups of tests. One is ACT and SAT. Each covers both covers math and English, and then we have English proficiency tests, TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo. You can pick either of them, doesn't matter. TOEFL, Duolingo. Duolingo is the easiest. Majority of universities accept it, so you can go for it. You'll be fine. Between ACT and SAT, that's the one, I mean, that is majority of universities say they are not required, but we still advise you to take practice on both, see which one you do better, prepare, and then if you score above average at your specific, at the university of your dream or your like top university, we strongly advise to submit scores. We've seen people who submitted perfect scores and didn't get in. By perfect, I mean 1590 out of 1600. And we've seen people who didn't submit any score and got into the competitive places. So there are no single rule, but our advice: take both practice tests, see which one you're doing better, try to prepare for it, try to score as high as possible, and if you accomplish that goal, submit. So now let's move to another slide. So as I said, like perfect scores doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get into top university. I've seen people rejected with 1590 from MIT. So why does it happen? Well, because people actually don't take a holistic approach to their profile, and they put emphasis on one part of their application more than on another. And what admission committee are looking for, they're looking for a well-rounded individual, right? So they don't want someone who just spends all their time studying. They want someone who has a very active position in life, someone who will maybe help others people, maybe will become a very successful businessman, a politician, but someone whom they can be proud of. And to create this impression, I mean, not impression, hopefully, but what you actually, who you actually are, it's very important to think about your application as one picture of you, and when admission committee reads your essay and your recommendation letters and your application file, they can come up with 2, 3, maybe 4 words that describe you best. For example, emotional, intelligent, creative, analytical, teamwork player. Like that was the picture I was trying to portray about myself. One mistake that people make is they're not using their summers productively. And what I mean by I will go in more details on the next slide. Why I will go in more details on the next slide about why. What do I mean by using your summers productively? Correct me if I'm wrong, but where I grew up, and it was in Russia, I haven't used doing something, I mean, active during the summer. I would go to a sea, I would spend some time at my grandma's place, but I wouldn't think about volunteering or maybe going for unpaid internship or doing some courses at college. In the United States, everyone becomes extremely active, especially for the last 3-4 years of their high school. And there is a reason for that, because admission committee takes a very close look at what you've done throughout the last 3 years of your summer. And there are some options, right? You can do some volunteering work. Maybe you can work at some company. It doesn't have to be a paid internship, but just with their experience. If you have financial resources, you can attend courses at top universities here during the summer. So there are a lot of options how you can use your summer, but just make sure when you apply, if you decide to apply, there is something to talk about. And can we just go to the next slide? And also, it's not just about, no, next slide. Can we go to summer slide before? Yes, thank you so much. So for the summer, it's going, for example, academic programs, if you have such an opportunity, it actually gives you a chance to either signal to admission committee how excellent you are, for example, by taking a course on economics at Harvard and getting A into that. That's a signal. You went for American system, you get A at Harvard in summer. It's also a way to explore your interest. If you're really not sure, maybe I want to do economics or maybe I want to do political science. So you can take different courses and try to see what would fit. And finally, it's very good way to also understand a culture of the university. I gave you this Brown example before, right? So it's a it's a good way to come to campus and see if that place will be for you. Because one thing to experience it throughout internet, another to just experience in real life. I understand it may be not possible in majority of cases, but if it is, give it a try. And also, summer program is as I said, it's a really important way to build your unique story as a college applicant, because your unique story, that's what's gonna help you to get into a top college. Not perfect grades, but your unique story, who you are, what you're special about. And everyone is special about something. You just need to be able to communicate it effectively to the admissions committee. And with that, let's move to the next slide. So personal statement. So personal statement, as I said, like it's a kind of main essay outside of United States. It's often called a motivation letter. It's basically a letter where you talk about yourself, it's the first impression you'll make on admission committee. We just showed 3 examples here of 3 most popular examples with our students. There are actually 7 prompts overall among personal statement. And this is, in the personal statement, what is very important to think about, if you talk about, like, for example, how passionate you are about music, and give some story around that, make sure that your recommendation letter are not coming from a soccer coach. So personal statement needs to be integral part of other aspects of your application. And after personal statement we covered. Now I think you have a good idea of what the application package looks like. So it's your tests, your grades, your recommendation letters, your essays, then you're filling out an application and maybe an interview. One thing I really want to emphasize, there is no single rule. For example, some school might take 2 free recommendation letters. Some school might tell you, if you want, you can say 5 recommendations letters. What I'm driving at, please make sure you check the rules for each university. Pay attention to those details. When you're applying to American university, devil is in details. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Right now we will talk about more how you should optimize your time to apply effectively. One, just want to cover very important terms to keep in mind for future. So unlike a lot of places in the United States, you actually apply between 9 to 11 months before the school year starts. So for the our students who are going to start their universities in the fall of 2023, right now we're already working on the application package. And so what are those RD, ED? Let me give you some details. So regular decision, straightforward. That's when majority of people apply. It's usually happens for the top universities by the end of December, mid-January. Some universities accept their students' applications as late as mid-February, but it's rather an exception. So if you're thinking about just applying with regular admission, think that your package, the one I described before, should be ready by December 31st. Then there is a really important term called ED. So early binding decision. What does it mean? Early binding decision, it means that you pick one university of your dream, one you definitely want to attend if you decide, if you're accepted. And there is a big difference between early action, EA, and early decision. Because in early decision, you can apply only to one university. And if they accept you, then you can't like fish for other universities. You have to accept the letter. With non-binding early action EA, you can go for 5, 6, 10 schools. It's up to you. Nothing is required. If they accept you, you can decide later in the spring if you want to pick one or not. Between ED and ED1, ED2, there is not much of a difference. The only difference is that ED1 happens in the early November, mid-November, and ED2 happens in January. If you go for ED1, you will get your decision by middle of December, and by the middle of December, you already know where you're going for the next fall. So that's the beauty of it. So how to spend your time? Let's move to the next slide. So how do you spend your time given how much work is required? Well, I often get a question, is it too late for me to apply? Is it too early for me to start? There is also no specific rule. It really depends on specific individual. It's where you are in the game. By where you are, how well you're prepared. Do you have a lot of extracurricular activities? What have you done for the summer? So that's a lot of things to consider. But on average, what we witnessed throughout last 6 years, it's between 9 to 12 months to take things slowly. If you don't have 9 or 12 months, it doesn't mean you cannot apply. I'm just saying, like, if you take things slowly, you take time for a test. So how would you divide time between those 9 and 12 months? Well, I would recommend to spend the spring and early summer studying for the test and acing them. Then in August, early September, start working on your personal statement, and also think who are the people you want to ask recommendation letters for. Then in early October, work on a school-specific essays, because as I said, like each school also, not each school, but majority of the top school would ask their own questions. And then you start submitting, then at the end of October, already early decision happens, and that's when you start applying. Okay, I hope you get at least some understanding. We will share the presentation, don't worry. I know it's a lot of things to consider, but now I think you have a good understanding of what the timeline looks like when you start preparing, what goes into application. Let's talk about what worries everyone, money. So how to get financed? Then with that, let's move to another slide. So there are basically 3 ways for international students to get money. One is what is called need-based financial aid, and what it means that if your family is not wealthy or doesn't have much of income, universities will consider giving you money based on that situation. Another term is called merit-based, when you're given money because you're an excellent student and they really want you. So they're trying to give you an extra incentive to get money. Usually merit-based happens at the lower rank universities. By lower rank, I don't mean like number 100, right? It could be top 30. In top 30, you can easily get, not easily, but you can get a merit-based scholarship. In our case, all of our students get into top 20 for their specialty, and some of them were getting merit-based as well. Excuse me. And the last one is work study. So work study is when you're allowed to spend up to 20 hours on on your studies, on working, not on your studies, I'm sorry, on your studies. Okay, I apologize. Work study, it's when you're allowed to spend up to 20 hours at school working. You're allowed to work only at the university. Frankly, usually it's a really low paid work, but it's better than nothing. So there are 3 ways, as I said, need-based, merit-based, and work study to get money as an international student. So let's go into first 2 categories in a little bit more details, because there are some important things I want you to remember those. So when we talk about need-based financing for international students, here are 2 things to keep in mind. There is need-blind financing, and there is need-aware. What's the difference? The difference is some universities will look at your application and they will not care if you ask for money or not. They will look just at your application, your letters, your recommendation, and they make a decision. Do they want you to accept you or not? Others, like need-aware, which would mean they will look at your application, they will look at what's your financial status, they'll pay it too, and then they'll decide if they want you or not. Well, the sad news are that there are only 5 need-blind institutes in the United States, which really don't care. They care about the quality of who you are, and they don't care about the money. Those are MIT, Harvard, Amherst College, which I mentioned a couple of times, Princeton, and Yale. That's it, just those 5. And also, just as the slide says, please pay attention. You can have an amazing school as the University of Berkeley, wonderful, but it's public. It doesn't offer need-based scholarship or financial aid. But it doesn't mean you should be upset or desperate. There is always merit-based scholarship. Let's move there. To the next slide, I mean. So need-based, merit-based scholarship is aimed at international applicants, to those that students, that schools are really eager to have. Usually it's lower ranked schools. As I said, it's not top 10, 15, but those are still the really wonderful universities that are in top 50 in the world, and after which you'll get a great job, and after which you'll get a great network. So merit-based is a really great option. I, for example, were able to study for undergraduate on merit-based, so it works. And good news that merit-based offered not only by private institutions, but also by public. So you have more options. So now when we have all of it, so what's next? The next is our advice on how to get into a top school and also get money. So let's move to the next slide. And our advice is to go for ED1. So our advice to try to put a strong case as possible by early decision by end of October. When we say be careful about where, you have to be realistic about your chances, okay? If you think that just because you apply earlier than the rest of the crowd, you're gonna get into Harvard, it depends. If your application is strong, yes, you will. But you need to be really careful about judging your chances. So, but just basically take away this. If you want to get money and you want to get an as high school as possible, high as rank, university as possible, go for ED1. Now, last but not least, let's move to, I know all of it might sound complicated, though all of you are extremely accomplished, but that's not a takeaway I want you to have. What I want you to take away, it's a complicated process, but all of it is doable, all of it. I didn't have a family who could pay for me. I studied at MIT. I was born in Russia. I never attended a very prestigious school. So all of it is doable. And our students demonstrate that. And moreover, I asked one of our students, Vlad Petrov, who just finished his first year at Harvard. He was a transfer from St. Petersburg State University. Vlad has actually got admitted both to Harvard and MIT, which is really unusual case. But hopefully Vlad is around and he can share his story. Vlad, I believe you with us, right?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
So, why? Wonderful. Hi.
Do you hear
Go
me
ahead.
properly? Okay,
Perfectly.
great.
Yeah, we'll hear perfectly. Thanks.
Okay, happy to be here, guys. Nice to meet you. I'm Vladimir or Vlad, originally from St. Petersburg, Russia. And as Lena already said, I applied to US, and right now I'm a rising junior at Harvard, studying math and statistics. I think maybe after a very long presentation like this and lots of information, this might be just a bit useful, like a case study to talk about my story a bit, and then I'll probably give my personal advice, what I find the most important for you guys to consider when you apply to US colleges. So I would say that most of my high school years were about doing lots of academics and especially competitive math. So here we're talking about International Economics Olympiad, the same thing there is obviously in mathematics or in physics. I would do math, and that was all practically the most important thing in my high school experience. And of course, at some moments, probably in the ninth grade, which is like sophomore year of school, I would start think about applying to US colleges, but I would never actually believe that I could go for very good college. I could get accepted. I never knew the process. And obviously there were like I think I knew nobody who would apply from Russia. That's definitely a problem about our educational community. And I definitely had this belief that I can't do that. And then I would go to, after graduation, I would go to St. Petersburg State University, again, to study math. And at some moment, my friend, Alexander, he said, like, let's go to transfer to MIT together. And I would just kind of laugh at him, saying like, you will be just wasting our times. But he was accepted, and he was like so right. And I understood that I was completely wrong and I was missing something. And then I just applied the next year, which was my sophomore year at St. Petersburg State University. And I managed to transfer to Harvard. I was accepted both to Harvard and MIT. This is just a kind of introduction about me. And I think what you can definitely infer from here is that I had a strong profile, okay, but still, I believe like all the numbers were against me, and the thing that I got in definitely reflects that some things like possible, even the ones that you really do not believe in terms of statistics. And you should really think why you have strong qualifications and how you should put them in the profile, so you will be look super strong for the admissions committee, so that they want to take you even in this case. Because in my case, just for the reference, there were like 2,000 applications and only 12 places for transfers. They very rarely take transfers. Sometimes there are years where they don't even have spots, and still I managed to get in happily, of course, with the help of very valuable people. Now, I think what you should take from here is that try to believe, and I think this one thing will definitely make great difference. It will reflect your overall profile, and it will give you lots of energy. And after all, in the worst case, you will probably maybe waste like half a year of studying or whatever. And you cannot even name this a waste of time. It's definitely a very rewarding experience, even if you do not get in. But if you will, this will definitely change your life, and you should just go for it. Now, speaking about my advice, I will give 3 pieces of advice. Well, 2 of them just to highlight, from my opinion, what is the most important from the presentation, because you're probably like overwhelmed with lots of information. So first of all is timing. There was a slide about timing where Yelena would say 9 to 12 months. Totally agree with this number, but just generally do not overestimate your possibilities, because even for the smartest guys, I think there are so many different things to consider. You have to do testing, you have to write essays, you have to overall build your profile, you have to make a research about the college list, like universities list you will apply. And those are completely different kind of activities. It's not like just being smart in math and you can do all of that, or like you are good at essays and you can ace that. So also some failures happen. So you could think that you're really great in TOEFL, but then you would go and there was something unexpected, and then like you think, what am I going to do now? Like, everything is not according to the plan. So take some time in advance. Second thing is essays. Like really, maybe it's even first thing. Like if you want to take one thing from our presentation, Lena's talk, I believe it's you should really focus on essays, and you should really understand how important they are. I think everything what said Yelena is perfect. It's definitely true about them. And just statistically speaking, if you want to get into top college, you should understand that like good GPA is a must-have. It's not the thing that will be kind of enough or already like increases your chances a lot. I'm not saying that you have absolutely no chances if you don't have a good GPA, but I'm just saying that this is definitely not enough. And what they want to see in addition to that is like why you're actually interested and why, again, you're a good fit for this specific college. Finally, my personal advice is just not like some practical skill. My personal advice is whenever you do this, you will probably face lots of people who will be like advising you. And I believe one thing you should really focus in is to listen more to the people that actually tell you that you can do something, and to listen less to the people who say you cannot do something. And from my story is just my disbelief would come from like completely irrelevant references. I mean, some friends of the parents who would say, oh, it's impossible to get into Harvard or like Yale or these top schools. You have to be from a very aristocratic American family, or you have to be a billionaire, or have to have connections with somebody from admissions and all stuff like that. And you have to study in the United States in order to be able to speak English fluently. Anything like that. Completely like zero expertise. And still they would say like, you cannot do this. And it's very easy to say like that, right? On the other hand, like people who would really help me, including Yelena, were the guys who were actually inside the process. I mean, they do this every year, and they're really experts in this field. And they would never say, I cannot do something. They would always say, you can do this, you should do this, you should speed up here, and here is the best way how you can build your profile. So definitely focus on that and take energy from that, because whenever a person tells you you can do something, it's really because like the person tries to help you. There is like just generally there is no need for one to tell you you can do something just for a reason.
Wonderful.
I'm happy
Yeah,
if
wonderful.
you have any for me. I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, Volodya, thank you so much. And I guess just to emphasize, believe in yourself, take time to prepare, and build your unique personal story. Maybe it sounds a little bit like what is unique about me. Every single person has something unique about themselves. And as Volodya also pointed out, even if it happens, but I'm sure in your case you will be successful, even if you don't get accepted to university of your dream, the whole process of applying to American university is very interesting. It's kind of self-reflection on your life. You know, when I was first writing my essay to MIT, there was a very important question. The question was, how do you define success? And when I wrote my essay about success, a friend of mine looked and said, "Your success looks like a laundry list." So, and then I sit down and I rewrote those essays. But what we are saying here is that, and Volodya, I mean, as Volodya said, it's definitely a worthwhile process to learn more about yourself and to understand how you're different from others, what can you offer to others, how you can help others. And if you communicate all of that effectively, you will definitely get to where you want to be. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. I hope it was helpful. I'm really sorry for the technical problem we had in the beginning. It threw us off a little bit. Here is our contact details if you want to talk more. But what we also want to offer is a contest. So we agreed with the organizers together that we're gonna run a contest for participants of Olympiad. We will pick top 5 winners. We will not be able to take more for free help from our side. By free help, I mean we will look at your case, we will talk to you individually, or we'll see how we'll give you advices how to position yourself, and we will also help you to come up with a list of universities which we think would be the best fit for you. We'll pick 5 of you. Please fill out a survey if you're interested in participating. It's going to take time because in order for us to pick 5, we also need to learn more about you and see how we can help. So there are some essays included, but think about it as a as a practice for your application process to the United States, because writing essays here will also help you to be compelling when you apply to American school. Well, thank you so much for joining today. I don't know, Tatiana, do we have any time for questions, or guys, you have a next speaker, I guess, in a minute?
No, not really. We don't have our next speaker, so if you have time for Q&A, you can obviously do that.
Yeah, I mean, if there are questions, sure, to me or Volodya, we are happy to answer. And if there are not, we will be happy to leave. So I'm just trying to see. So I don't think there are any questions at the moment. I guess we were so compelling and explained everything. So, well, wonderful. Then was nice meeting you, and hopefully we hear from you. Oh, okay. A question about contest form. Yes. What's the kind of question? Go ahead. Maybe you can just type in the chat and we'll answer. Okay, that doesn't matter. It's fine. GPA, A level, it's all good. I mean, GPA. I mean, even in case of A, you can A levels, you can kind of come up with. There are a way to convert, so don't worry about it. It's okay. But if you're talking about our survey, just put what you have for A level. So that's not the problem. Say it again. I didn't see the question about IELTS. What was the question about IELTS? Oh. Yes, all tests are required. No, all tests has to be taken before you submit your application. all tests. And by the way, IELTS is the least easy to work with. So I don't think we recommend IELTS. So let me know if you have any more questions. I can stay for a couple more minutes. Please don't be shy to ask. Maybe you want to ask Volodya some. And if not, in 3 minutes, we'll leave. Okay. Okay. What Vladimir had, Volodya, what did you have besides math activities? Well, his math activities were, I don't know if he mentioned that, or he was also twice, he won gold in math twice in the world. So, but how about?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't see the question about math activities. Maybe it's personally for you. What is the question?
Yeah, maybe someone. Yeah, the question is what Vladimir have besides math activities. And okay, someone asked a brilliant question. Is there any deadline to submit the form? Thank you. Okay, extra bonus to Ashwin. Good question. Yes, the deadline would be August 15th. Okay, thank you so much, Ashwin. That's a very good question. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Now I see the question. I mean, I had some stuff. I don't know. I did some sports. I was collaborating with my friends on startups.
Do I have to build your story now?
Yeah, it's been online. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, let me think. I was a firefighter. Then I went to save dolphins. No, guys, I mean, yeah, I had kind of diverse profile, but you should not really focus on these stories. Maybe just for the reference, that's okay. But you, like, whenever you hear somebody says you have to be like this guy in order to get there, like, overcome cancer at the age of 15, that's completely true. There is no fundamental truth about the personality you have to have. Just focus on yourself, and that's all you need, I think.
Well, I mean, okay, but the truth is, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Volodya, I agree with you that you need to focus on yourself. But frankly speaking, Volodya was also competing in as a junior. He was competing in figure skating. So he participated competitively in figure skating until the age of 12, I believe, right? And then during COVID time, he was building a startup on the side with his friends. So he did something in addition to just doing math. He just being really modest. So his profile was quite well-rounded. So someone asked a question, can we study at Harvard University with a level certificate? I don't know what exactly that means. I suspect that you mean, Cambridge level, you mean basically Cambridge level certificate will replace English tests? No, it will not. You're still required to take TOEFL or Duolingo or IELTS. Okay. So. Okay, well, wonderful. I think we are free to go. And once again, thanks for joining us today. And hopefully it was helpful. If you have more questions, how about this? You put them in YouTube under a video on YouTube. I guess the video is going to be posted, and I'll try to reply as fast as possible to most of them. Thank you so much. And I look forward to you submitting the story. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.